One of the most important components of a genetic counseling application is the resume. The reason for that is that the resume is the primary tool that you have to help someone who doesn't know you understand the experiences that you've had and the skills you've developed that are related to the field of genetic counseling or graduate school in general. When we review a resume, we're looking for 5 primary categories. We're looking for genetic counseling exposure, crisis counseling, advocacy, research or other laboratory experience, and leadership or professional development outside of the classroom. When we look at genetic counseling exposure, we are looking for any interface with the field of genetic counseling. We are looking for people who have developed perspective about what a genetic counselor does, and perspective about what it means for an individual or a family to interface with genetic counseling. There are a lot of different ways that you can develop this perspective. The gold standard way is to have in-person shadowing experience. There's very little replacement for in-person shadowing experience and working alongside a genetic counselor to understand all of the components of the day-to-day, all of the challenges, all of the benefits, all of the considerations that go into one appointment. With that being said, you can still develop that perspective in a lot of other ways. You can interface with genetic counselors through networking, through regional or national or local meetings, through attendance at Tumor Boards, work with journal clubs, or maybe attendance at peer supervision. You can develop perspective from the patient side through a lot of other means within popular media. You can listen to podcasts, you can read books that were written by people who have genetic conditions for themselves or in their families. You can watch documentaries and series on streaming platforms like Netflix, where you can learn about someone's emotions and their experience of going through the diagnostic process. Ultimately, you're really seeking to develop perspective. And while there might not be replacement for in-person clinical opportunities, there are a lot of ways that you can continue to develop that perspective no matter what the options are where you are. The second primary category is crisis counseling. There are some programs that consider crisis counseling and advocacy to be the same. We are not one of those programs. Crisis counseling to us comes with a very specific skill set. There's often a lot of emotion in a very short period of time. It's very beneficial to have training for things like this, and there's a lot of ways that you can get that training. If you have training and volunteer or paid experience with crisis counseling, it's imperative that you include that in your resume, including the number of hours and the skills that were developed. Advocacy work, on the other hand, is working with individuals who have special needs of any kind. Not everyone who can benefit from an advocate is actively in crisis, so we consider these to be a little bit different. Advocacy work is also meant to help you develop perspective about the needs and sort of day-to-day of people who are different than you are. There's a wide variety of categories that can fit this as well, and ultimately we want you to choose something that you feel passionate about or is important to you that helps you to develop an understanding of the needs of people who are different than you are. The fourth category is research and laboratory experience. These would be experiences that are beyond those that are associated with the required coursework for your undergraduate degree. So some people are undergraduate research assistants or have Capstone or other honors research experience. Some people have laboratory work outside of the undergraduate setting. All of that should be included. If you have any publications or presentations, whether they were on campus or at local, regional, or national meetings, that should also be included. We know that the communication of complex scientific information is a critical component of what genetic counselors do, so we want to make sure that you get appropriate credit for that. The last section is leadership and professional development, and this is really anything that you're doing outside of a typical classroom setting. This might be involvement on campus or off campus. It might be community-based, it might be faith-based. There's so many things that could fall under this category that it's really difficult to list them here. But we want to know what you're interested in. What are you involved in? What is your passion? What is gaining your interest? And what are you doing sort of outside of a traditional classroom setting to grow who you are and your perspective in the world? If you're looking for more information, feel free to connect with us by sending us an email, giving us a call, or following us on social media at UNCG GC.